Good evening, it's meteorologist Michael Fecka. Welcome back to the 9 p.m. all-weather, all-streaming show that we do here every night during the workdays and on weekends. We stream it out to all of our streaming platforms, including Facebook Live and YouTube. So if you are joining us from either of those places, please feel free to leave us a question or a comment down below. Hopefully, I'll be able to answer all your questions as I go through the actual forecast, but if not, I'll go through at the very end and see if I can answer anything individually for you. I'm expecting a lot of questions or comments this time around. We've got that alert starting Monday night into Tuesday morning. We're tracking out another winter system moving through. It looks like we are going to be starting out with at least that chance for a wintry mix, changing over to snow Monday night into early Tuesday morning. At this point in time, it does look like we have that good chance of a widespread coating to an inch. And I think a lot of us probably end up closer to that 1 inch amount. However, there are going to be some locally higher amounts of up to 2 inches possible, especially depending on where some of this banding sets up. Over the last couple of model runs here, a lot of the shorter range, higher resolution models have been picking up on this area of heavier snow or a heavier snow band that may set up somewhere within the tri-state, and that may bring some higher amounts locally of up to 2 inches in some spots. And then on top of that, there is that potential for at least a glaze of ice in some locations, and I think the best chance of that still remains to the south of the Ohio River through areas of western Kentucky. Not a lot of ice, but just enough to still cause some slick travel or make what already is going to be some slick travel early Tuesday morning, maybe even a little bit worse. So here's a look at our current winter alerts. So for the tri-state, we have really just this winter weather advisory in effect for the majority of our western Kentucky counties, and this is for that potential of a glaze of ice and a mix of snow and sleet accumulations of up to an inch possible. Now, the rest of us, not really under a winter weather advisory. However, I will note the National Weather Service did do a Facebook Live earlier, and they were talking about that potential need for expanding these winter weather advisories farther northward due to that possibility of that heavier snow band setting up somewhere within the tri-state. So we may see this get expanded either tonight or early tomorrow morning, so keep that in mind. But looking at the winter weather alerts across the country, for the most part, here within the Midwest, we've got the string of winter weather advisories climbing down the Mississippi River there all the way into Arkansas, and then we've got another band of winter weather advisories stretching from Wichita into Kansas City and all the way into eastern Illinois. But taking a look at what we can expect to happen here in terms of the evolution of this system, again, I think a lot of us probably start off with a couple of mixed showers. So rain and snow showers moving through generally after 6 p.m., but we're eventually going to see those snow and rain showers transition to all snow from north to south. Even folks in western Kentucky, especially far southern western Kentucky, you may start off with just plain rain, change over to a mix, and then see snow on top of that. So accumulation is going to be a little bit harder farther to the south with that ground being a little bit warmer and a little bit wet, which is why we're still expecting a lot more of those snow accumulations to be a little bit farther north, but models are still shifting, and there is still a lot of uncertainty in the exact track of this storm system, in conjunction with a lot of other variables that are still kind of in play here through tomorrow. So we continue to update this forecast through tonight and into tomorrow morning. So make sure you also tune in tomorrow morning for the latest information outside of just watching our shows tonight. But here's kind of the evolution here. I'm going to show you several different models. We're going to start off by looking at our shorter range models. This is our NAM model called the North American model. Not typically used very often just in my regular daily forecasting, but I think it does show that potential for some mixed rain and snow showers pretty well at the onset of this storm. And then I also wanted to show you this model because it does a pretty good job at pointing out where that potential band may set up, or at least the presence of that heavier band setting up somewhere through southern Indiana, possibly stretching down into southern Illinois and portions of western Kentucky there. But you'll notice what started off as a lot of snow and rain showers has transitioned all over to snow, even down through our most southern portions of western Kentucky. And then it looks like a lot of this wraps up by around 5 a.m. Tuesday morning. So the general time frame here is going to be between 6 p.m. Monday evening into 6 a.m. Tuesday morning, although I think we'll probably see an end to it a lot earlier than 6 a.m. But In terms of our snowfall amount, so this is going to be the snowfall accumulations from the North American model, the one I just showed you. It's putting out the higher amounts of snow off to the north of the Ohio River, with less amounts as you go farther south, where they're seeing that mixing there. But this does show you that potential where we could see up to 2 inches in that band, depending on where it sets up. Now, this particular model wants to set it up kind of right up and along the Wabash River, extending a bit into southern Indiana and also a little bit into southern Illinois. But I'm telling you right now that this band could shift north, it could shift south, it could shift east, it could shift west. So that's kind of the uncertainties that we're facing here headed into tomorrow. But in general, you'll notice everybody pretty much has that chance of at least a coating to an inch. So that's kind of the general vibe here we're going with for tomorrow. Now, I'm going to show you another model. This is our in-house model. This is called the graph, and it kind of shows things a little bit differently here. It shows very, very sparse shower activity once we get into Monday night. It doesn't show that full-on precipitation shield like a lot of the other models are, but it does still show this potential band setting up and moving through, and then it also shows a lot more snow hanging out a little bit later than the rest. So that's why I have that kind of ending by around 5 a.m. as well, and I extended a little bit to 6 a.m. in our timing just to account for that. So in terms of our graph snowfall accumulations, and this may actually have just updated before I even looked at it, it's kind of running the lowest of all of our models right now, generally putting out a coating to around 1 inch for everybody. It doesn't really show that potential for that heavy banding on the snowfall accumulation map, but it shows it in the reflectivity. So just another thing that is a forecasting challenge here is when the models themselves are kind of at odds with themselves. So it gets a little bit difficult there, but that's just another outcome that could happen. And then here's a look at the HER model. So this model, fairly reliable. I use this model quite often. It's very similar in terms of the NAM and how it resolves all of this. So again, generally around 6 p.m. we'll start to see a mix of rain and snow move through. For mostly everybody, it starts as a mix, transitioning to all snow from north to south as we go through the rest of the night. And notice it also picks up on that heavier band, setting up through areas of southern Indiana, possibly lining up right and along the Wabash River there. So that's where we would potentially see those isolated 2-inch amounts wherever that sets up, and possibly even sits there for a while. And then that also comes to an end by around 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning. Now here's what the HER model snowfall accumulation looks like. It's very similar again to what the NAM showed, picking up on that potential for that band to show up there right along the Wabash River and up into southern Indiana with that potential for up to 2 inches. So with all of that being said, here's what my general forecast is. Again, I think everybody is going to have a good chance of at least a coating to 1 inch. And I think a lot of us probably end up closer to that 1 inch amount. Now, where you see this blue area, this darker blue area, that is where I have that potential highlighted for that band to set up, where we could see those localized amounts of up to 2 inches. And again, that's going to be right along the Wabash River and through much of southern Indiana. Now, I'm not saying everybody in this blue area is going to see 2 inches, but I think the best potential for some isolated pockets of up to 2 inches will be somewhere within this darker blue area, less as you head further south, especially where they're going to see more of that mixing. So that is kind of the lowdown on the snow. And then, of course, you can't forget we have that glaze of ice as well. Not really going to see too much of an impact other than the roadways and bridges and overpasses kind of getting pretty slick. So all in all, I know I threw a lot of information at you. Let's cover the exact timing. I think generally we're going to start to see these mixed showers move in around 6 p.m., filling in from west to east, eventually starting out as a mix of rain and snow, changing over to all snow from north to south overnight into early Tuesday morning. All of this wraps up completely, entirely across the tri-state by around 6 a.m., probably even a little bit earlier than that. Now, what are the main hazards? It's going to be a wintry mix, changing over to snow, so some slick spots, a slick morning commute, especially Tuesday. You guys need to be careful and prepare for at least some delays in that respect. So that is everything for the forecast headed into tomorrow. Let me have a second to catch my breath. That was a lot of words. But let me check out the comments and see if I can answer anything for you. Jim Kipler says, we'll survive. I think we will too. I think we're very well equipped to survive this. Zach Seitz says, is the wintry mix expected to change into snow later for Evansville? Yes, and I think it's probably going to be a pretty brief period where we see some rain and snow showers. I think for at least the Evansville area, the dominant or precipitation type, probably going to be snow. A lot of people just saying hello Christian and Christina. Good evening to you, Cheyenne. Do you think it's going to affect the roadways? Yes, I do. I do think it will affect the roadways, especially early Tuesday morning. Temperatures will be well below freezing by that point, so anything that's on the roadways, even if it's melted a little bit, will probably freeze up, and we're likely going to see some slick spots out there. So that's kind of why we want you to pay attention, especially for that Tuesday morning commute. Even though all of it will probably be done by the time you're headed out for work or school, it's just the lingering impacts will still be there. Good evening from Owensboro, says Sergeant. Is Louisville getting anything? I'm working a shift headed there after my shift. Yes, Louisville will also get something kind of a similar evolution to this, probably looking at somewhere between that 1 to 2 inch range in the Louisville area. I think as the storm progresses east, it does get stronger, and I think eastern Kentucky even has a much better chance of seeing a lot more snowfall than even we do here. So the farther east you go, unfortunately, it looks like the worse it'll get, but not too much worse, at least if you're going to Louisville. Francisco telling people, please stay warm. Don't forget your pets. Protect them too. Yes, it's a very good point. Not all animals are great in the snow, so you want to make sure you're looking out for them as well. Drew Rapp, do you think a winter weather advisory will happen some point tomorrow? I'm assuming you mean at least get expanded from where they are currently. I do think there is a good chance of that, especially looking at the newest higher resolution model runs coming in with those 1 to 2 inch amounts consistently through southern Indiana and southern Illinois. I would probably expect some of that to get expanded. Oh, Lucas, I work from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. It's going to be tricky on the way home. Yes. Well, at least you'll be at work for the duration of the storm. So, yeah, it'll be a tricky commute home, but at least it won't be too bad on your way in. William with a rain report, 0.06 inches earlier today. Looks like Olivia's answering a question for me that I missed. She is answering, do you think roads will be bad around 6:30 p.m. tomorrow? No, probably not by that point. I think at least at the very onset of it, it's probably going to be fairly light, and the road temperatures are still going to be a little bit above freezing. So I think anything that falls initially probably melts on contact. It's when we see a couple hours after that, more towards 8, 9, 10 o'clock later in the evening, that we start to see that cooler temperature work its way in, and that's where we'll probably start to see some things get slick and start to stick. Leanne asking, is there any chance it will miss us completely? There's always a chance, Leanne. We can never say never. It doesn't look like we'll miss it completely. Again, I think at the very least, of the lowest of lowest solutions of this storm system, I think we all escape with at least a coating of some sort of wintry mixture on the ground. And I still think, regardless, we're going to be dealing with some slick spots for that morning commute. So that is pretty much kind of the main messaging here, is regardless of the amount of snow you get, you're still going to be impacted by it headed out to work or school Tuesday morning. So don't get too completely hung up on the exact totals here. Again, it's not like we're forecasting a huge blockbuster snowstorm here. It's really a minor amount of snow, but it can cause some issues. I think that's all the questions I am seeing currently. So that is pretty much all the information that I have for the alert tomorrow. I'm going to continue on here with a little bit of a outlook for the rest of our week into next week with a look at our precipitation chances. It looks like we dry out for the most part Wednesday into Thursday. It looks like there may be a frontal boundary that tries to slide through in between Wednesday into Thursday. That'll cloud us up a little bit and cool us back down just in time for our next system to potentially move in for Friday and into next weekend. Now, this next system, outside of tomorrow into Tuesday, way farther out in the future, don't have a lot of details on it. Will change a lot between now and the end of next week. So just take whatever you see here with a grain of salt and just kind of take it as an early flag to potentially something. But we'll start off with a look at the European model. This model's not too excited about that potential for the end of the week. It has a few snow showers lifting up through western Kentucky, and then it quickly pushes off to the east there. Probably very little in the way of accumulation. And then looking at the GFS model, it has a little bit of a bigger storm system, but it's a lot warmer out there. I think we see mostly just rain with the GFS solution for the end of next week. So that's kind of the details here, but looking at our forecast through tomorrow, again, we'll start off with increasing cloud cover. It'll stay fairly quiet out there, not expecting too much to happen until generally after 6 p.m. After 6 p.m. is when I think we'll start to see some of those mixed showers moving in, changing over to all snow overnight into early Tuesday morning. So there's a look at your 7-day forecast. I'll take that full so you can see it a little bit better. Dry through the first half tomorrow. Snow showers move in through Monday evening into Tuesday morning, picking up generally coating to 1 inch of snow. Some spots may see up to 2 inches, especially depending on wherever that band sets up. And then we'll dry out there for Wednesday into Tuesday, but you'll notice a drop in the temperatures. 40 degrees Wednesday, 31 on Thursday. There's a cold front that moves in there overnight, and then there's that potential for some more rain or even some snow showers by Friday. All right, so that is all I've got here for the forecast. That was a very long-winded one, threw a lot of information at you, but hopefully it made sense and I brought it together in the end for you guys. I don't want anyone to leave here confused than before they got here. So my goal is to just make things a little bit clearer and a little bit easier to understand. I don't see any other questions outside of the ones I've already answered, so I am going to hop off the live stream. I'll send you guys over to 14 News at 10 for all the latest news and weather headlines. Of course, we won't go on air until after Sunday Night Football wraps up, so hopefully that wraps up earlier rather than later. And until then, everybody, stay safe, have a great rest of your night, and please continue to check back for the latest updates, especially early tomorrow morning. Arden Gregory will be here Arden will be in for Byron tomorrow morning, so you want to get the latest from her as well. Again, stay safe, everybody. Have a great night and enjoy maybe some snow.